of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food, Henry's soul food. What do we need? Soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams So Much Show. And thank you so much for joining us. Logan Delaney, I know you heard the news by now. The military has pulled the coup in Egypt, and President Morsi has been ousted. No one knows his location. Joining us to talk about this is Logan Delaney, and also later on in the show, Dr. Tawfik, who's an expert on issues in Egypt, will be joining us. Logan, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Armstrong. It looks like the conversation we had this morning was right on point.
Yeah, it's what we talked about. And Logan, I couldn't believe that Morsi was being defiant to the military. What was he thinking?
Well, you know, in a country like Egypt, where the elected president has control of neither the military nor the police, it means you have no power base. You have to be very careful of what you say. And when he said he was putting his life on the line, you had to sort of scratch your head and say, you know, there are some times when it's worthwhile to put your life on the line, and there's sometimes when you're better off to live and fight another day, when you have a chance of winning. But there's a very, very difficult situation going on in Egypt right now, where the secular population, the secular middle class and educated classes are really up in arms, along with the Christians, the Coptics of Egypt, and are very unhappy with the government of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is, as most of our listeners know, is a fundamentalist Islamic party, and trying to convert Egypt into a fundamentalist Islamic state. And the groups that started the original Arab Spring in Egypt are secularists and are not interested in having an Islamic state. What they're interested in is having general prosperity for their country. And there's very, very high unemployment in Egypt, especially among the young, educated people. And President Morsi and his party have not helped the cause of bringing about the freedom and prosperity to Egypt. To the contrary, they recently, a few months ago, got approved a revised constitution. I don't know all the terms in that constitution, but I do know that from informed sources that know that area, that have looked at it, this constitution limits people's freedom rather than enhances people's freedom. So when you have a revolution that started in an Arab Spring to bring about more freedoms, to get away from the dictatorships, and then an elected government makes it more oppressive than the dictatorship that you had before, you've got a problem.
If you look at the situation closely, you have to say that Mubarak, even though he came from the military culture, did a very good job balancing the military and the police, because it appeared as though he controlled them both.
Well, That's right. And, historically, Egypt, the military is a political power of its own. It's something that we as Americans really don't understand, don't have a visceral understanding for, because in our country, the military has always been under very strict civilian control, and it's not been a separate entity. This is a country where the military is a separate entity, and if they don't like what's going on, they interfere and interrupt the political process to bring about the changes they think are necessary. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but it's certainly the way that country has operated for the last 100 years.
What about the president's actions and reactions over the last week as to what's been unfolding in Egypt and where he's
I assume you're talking about the President of the United States.
Yes, President Barack Obama.
Well, the president puzzled me. But this is not unusual. Those of your listeners who've heard me speak before know that the President Obama often puzzles me. But if you look at the history of the Arab Spring, and you look at how most of these movements that have taken hold in the Arab Spring have ended up being controlled by Islamic fundamentalists, and you look at the fact that Mubarak was basically our friend, and Obama said, hey, listen, I don't want to get involved. We're going to let the events play out. And yet, so we let the Muslim Brotherhood basically take over from a friend. Now, that's not bad enough, but the word is that yesterday or the day before, the President Obama told high officials in the Pentagon to talk to the military and tell them not to get involved in removing Morsi, who is basically unfriendly towards the United States. And he wanted the Pentagon to tell the military not to get involved. In other words, he's getting involved on behalf of somebody who is not friendly to the United States. I personally don't understand that. Why the president would not want to support somebody who is a friend of the United States, but was willing to support somebody who is not a friend of the United States. Can you explain that to me, Armstrong?
It doesn't make any sense. Despite what you may have said about Barack, he was our ally. You can see the pattern with Israel there for a while. I just don't understand it. I just think he's getting bad advice, Logan.
I don't know whether he's getting bad advice or he's not using common sense. In the world stage, as a world power, it seems to me that we want to support our friends and not our enemies. And in recent years, we've made some very strange decisions about where we're not supporting our friends. Now, I just don't understand it.
But it all depends on how you define support for your friends. There are different ways you can help people, the short term and the long term.
I agree with that.
And I think you are more comply with the long term.
I'm looking at the long term. Look, the Egyptians have had, generally speaking, over the last, in the post-World War II era, we've had, generally speaking, about as good a relationship with Egypt as we've had with any of the Middle Eastern countries. And sometimes under very difficult circumstances. And it goes back basically to the period of the Suez Canal, where the United States took the side of, this is back in the mid-'50s, took the side of the Egyptians against our allies, the British and the French, when they nationalized the Suez Canal. And it's paid off some good dividends. The dividends meant basically, we were able to broker peace between Israel and Egypt, and basically took the Egyptians out of the the constant conflict with Israel and basically neutralize them. Generally speaking, even though the Egyptians at some points under Nasser flirted with the Soviet Union during the Cold War, I mean, ultimately they did very little which is directly against our interests. And this had been true, going up until very recently. Clearly when the Muslim Brotherhood came in, the Muslim Brotherhood has a very different outlook on the world. They are interested in an Islamic fundamentalist state. And the irony of democracy with that kind of party is that you only have democracy to the extent that the people who vote agree with you. If the people don't agree with you, then you take away their rights. And that's what was happening, in the last year under Morrissey.
Well, you know what kind of bar, how does the military set things in place to change the dynamics there for the people? And how much of a window do they have?
Well, my understanding, and, I haven't read the complete report, so this is all secondhand. My understanding is what they plan to do is to rule for about 6 months directly, and then call an election.
1-866-860-6620. Logan Delaney is our guest. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Crust's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Crust near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrustBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Why do you think the Middle East is so often in chaos and can never find a peaceful resolution, Logan?
You know, Armstrong, that part of the world is usually run by dictators or kings or basically autocratic governments. There are no democracies that have been successful and lasted more than a generation or so in the Middle East. The one possible exception, and people can agree or disagree with this, is Turkey, and Turkey is sort of almost part of Europe, but even Turkey right now is turning is taking an Islamic fundamentalist turn. But that's a whole nother discussion. So if you look at a region which has no history of democracy, a history of autocratic governments, it's very hard for people to convert their thinking to self-government and recognize that there's certain basic liberties that you have to give everybody in your society. There may be some things that you don't like about other people's behavior, but if it doesn't affect you, you have to let it be. And that's one of the essential things about democracy. One of the other essential things about democracy is that you require freedom of speech and freedom of the press. People have got to be able to express themselves. And if that is not something that your society is used to, and somebody who takes a position which is not popular is either arrested or in some other way demonized by their society, a lot of things are built up. So you get a lot of different special interest groups that are not willing to make compromises, that can't talk, can't express their ideas in public, and don't have a history. They don't know what it's like to compromise with groups that they might not be 100% in agreement with. And it's not true. It's not only true in the Middle East. It's true in parts of Asia and South America as well, and Africa. Okay, and until probably the Enlightenment in the 19th century Europe, it was true in Europe. I mean, democracy and bringing about the kind of freedoms that we take for granted is very, very painful and very unusual in the state of the world. So I don't think it's all that unusual. But one of the other things that has happened in the Middle East is that many of these countries, and Egypt is not one of them, but many of the Middle Eastern countries has a reliance on one commodity, and that's oil. And they have not developed other industries. They've not developed other ways of bringing value added to their society. And they are societies where there are a few people who control those mineral wealth, and they have not found a way to make sure that the wealth is spread. And much of this is what we refer to as crony capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on crowded capitalism and this crowded funding?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What are your thoughts on this crony capitalism?
Well, I mean, the problem with crony capitalism is that if you have control of an industry or product, you do everything you can to keep other people from being your competitors. So there's no competition in your product or your industry. And the way you do that is that you bring the state in and you pay off people in the state. You pay off the inspectors. You pay off the government to pass laws that are favorable to you. You know, we have it in this country. You know, you look at the utilities. You know, certain utilities. If you look at the utility in your community, you can bet that your local utility pays off the legislatures. They probably donate to all the incumbents in your state legislature so they can maintain their franchise and they can minimize the competition. You know, whether that's electric utilities, you know, or the local bus service. You find that kind of crony capitalism or state capitalism that's not really capitalism. It's not very efficient, and it doesn't really provide for people, young people especially, with new, innovative ideas to break into the system and make things work better.
You're always learning something, though, Logan. Even if you're learning about yourself.
That's true. One always learns something. And you got to meet, you know, one of the things that I've noticed in my business career, which spans about 4 decades now, is that change is good, and it's inevitable. You can't stop change.
It's such healing for the soul.
Pardon me?
It's such healing.
Yeah. Change is necessary. And not all change is easy. As a matter of fact, change is usually very difficult on some groups of society. But we need orderly change in order to progress. So if our country, you know, did not let the buggy whip manufacturers go out of business, they'd still be making all these buggy whips, and nobody would be buying them, and they'd be piling up, and we'd have warehouses full of buggy whips that nobody wanted. But if nobody wants to close down the buggy whip factories, you got all these buggy whips sitting around that nobody needs or wants. And in smaller ways, change, you know, you see this change taking place in the media. You have people who are, you know, the media's changed from being an analog signal device, whether it's records or radio or terrestrial TV, to, you know, satellite TV, cable TV. You're finding things on the internet to get your entertainment. We have so many more options, and our lives are so richer for the change. But because terrestrial radio and TV were old technology, and they depended on the state for their licenses, they are a form of crony capitalism. And so the owners of the TVs and the radios and the old-fashioned media are doing everything they can to stop the erosion of what they see as their current value. I mean, in a way, you can't blame them, but on the other hand, our society is much better off for all of our other options today.
This is true. You gotta. Yes, this is true. This is true. Innovation can bite you both ways, Logan.
It bites you both ways, but ultimately, innovation is good.
Despite its drawbacks.
Look, you have to weigh the pluses and the minuses. Okay, I mean, and let's take something very, you know, emotional, and it's the automobile. If nobody, you know, if people 100 years ago said, look, we like our horse and buggy era, we don't want automobiles, or we don't want to put the people who make, you know, buggies and, you know, raise horses, we don't want them to go out of business, we'd still be riding around today in horse and buggies, and people would not be producing cars. We'd have the technology, but will we be better off? I don't think so.
Well, I'll tell you this. We may not be driving along in horse and buggies, but one thing that we've always tried to do is keep our values in check. That just because you're big enough to do something doesn't mean you should do it. People should first have self-respect, and everything emanates from there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've learned in this society, and, you know, what it probably has happened in the last 100 years is that we've seen technology change so fast and so much faster than the rest of the millennia of history before us that, in the old days you could do exactly what your father did and what your mother did. And things changed very, very slowly. But over the last 100 years, they've changed so rapidly that if you want to be successful, you have to be adaptable to change.
Because it will leave you behind.
Otherwise, you get left behind, exactly. So don't hang on to the old. Move on. And one of the problems with Islamic fundamentalists, which is where we started this, in some of the countries in the Middle East, is that people want to hang on to a medieval theology and a medieval interpretation of theology that is keeping them behind. And, to me, the perfect example of that is that they have approximately half their workforce or half their population, which could be incredibly productive, and they don't let them go to work. I'm talking about the women in most of these, or many of these Islamic fundamentalist societies. Can you imagine saying to women, you can't work, you got to stay in the home?
Cruelty.
How reactionary is that?
Cruelty.
How much do you lose by not having those women work?
And the exposure. You really learn how to work and how to think.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things that's happened, with, and one of the reasons why the Egyptian military is looking at this is that they're saying, hey, wait, Egypt was evolving to a much more secular society, and now they're telling these women they shouldn't be working?
Yeah.
That they've got to wear all kinds of special clothes to go out into the street and be public?
Word of burqa. Hold on, Logan. We'll be back. Don't go away. I'm Armstrong Williams. Our phone line's open, 1-866-801-8255.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Logan, what is the history of the students that you shared high school and college with? Where are they now?
I'm sorry, Armstrong, can you repeat that?
Where are the students now that you shared high school and college with? What did they end up in their lives?
I have two guys who are in student council with me who are in Congress. I have my college classmates and law school classmates. I have one senator, one former presidential candidate, several congressmen. So, in the political arena, some of my college friends and classmates have done very, very well. In the business world, I have a number of friends who were successful executives and business people. I have some friends who are, just ordinary sort of middle-class people. They decided they wanted to take the slow lane in life and be part of the middle class, and they work 9 to 5 and they have good lives. And then I have another group of friends who basically have had some major problems and tragedies in their lives that are that have had drug problems or drinking problems. The people that you've known on the way, a lot of things happen to those people. Some of those people go through various tragedies and they have various difficulties in their lives, and some of them, people move on. People make their own lives and go in very different directions. But I have to say that for a bunch of reasons, I've been exposed to a lot of very successful people in my path, from basically high school through most of my business career, and I have a lot of successful friends.
I was thinking as I was listening to Logan. There was a time when we were growing up, Logan. I don't know if you remember this with your parents, but there was a time when fathers, because they worked, they never really interacted with their children. That was not something they usually do. They'd leave early in the morning, they'd come back home. It was something that the role that the mother would do. But so much has changed with parenting in society today. And I think many of the problems that we have in the society today, it all stems from parenting. And I think it has to do with lack thereof of parenting.
Well, Armstrong, it's interesting that you point out that a lot of people from our generations, the fathers were absent. The fathers were out at work. They were busy. They were doing things, and the mother, basically ruled the roost at home. And that was the norm when we were growing up. I have to say that in many respects they were successful, and even though the fathers may not have been physically present during a lot of that time, their presence was felt. I mean, you knew that when your father came home late from working and he was tired and wanted his dinner, he'd been working his butt off to put food on the table, to pay the rent, and to send you to school. And when your father said something, you listened. Okay, he didn't have to be around. And one of the other things you may remember is that when you mouth off to your mother, her response was, "Wait till your father gets home."
Oh yeah.
Now tell me, that's a presence, okay? You didn't have to wait till your father got home, because at that point You corrected, you self-corrected when your mother told you that. You didn't want to incur your father's wrath. So I don't think the issue is totally that there's been an absence of fathers physically. I think the absence of male role models, of fathers who care about their children, who are part of the family life. I mean, I don't think we should be measuring it in hours that a father spends with his children, or hours that a mother spends with her children. That's part of the equation. But part of the other part of the equation is fathers who are asking for respect, not friendship. I mean, you want the respect from your child. What you want, this is my personal opinion, there are a lot of people who disagree with me, what you want your children to say 30 years, when they're 30 years old, is not, oh, my father's my best friend, and I screwed up my life. But my father was a really good father, and as a result, I'm a good person. And I've got, I'm responsible, self-reliant, and I pay my own way.
I guess it was not the amount of time. It's just that there was you understood respect that you had, and the values are always there. Especially when you grow up on a farm, you learn how to work. You're all there. It was there with your parents. They're never far away. But I just wonder how do we? We focus so much on, in terms of where we spend our money. We don't focus on kindergarten and K grades and through 7. We focus on making our college the best in the world, while our educational systems are just sort of is wrapped up in just poured and giving these tests and preparing them for tests. And yet when these kids get out of school, they can barely function. I mean, it wasn't always that way. America prided itself on all aspects of its education. When did we start losing the interest on the high school and the grade school level?
I think the irony is we lost interest about 40 years ago. And what we decided is that if you throw more money at the problem, you would solve the problem, and you didn't have to deal with it personally. You didn't have to deal with the difficult issues. We also decided if you threw more money, and all you had to do is give people more education. So I think where we took our eyes off the ball is that we didn't look at the quality of how we were spending money. And there's some very interesting statistics on the educational side that absolutely fascinate me. And that is that in real terms, we spend today about 3 times more than we did 30 years ago per pupil. 3 times, okay?
And less results to show for it.
And basically the results are virtually identical. They have not improved or declined over 30 years. Okay, if anything, they've declined in some respects, but basically, it's been no benefit. Now, the irony to me is that where have we been spending this money? We've been spending it for teachers' assistants, administrators, guidance counselors, recreational programs, programs for pregnant teens. We have taken our eye off the basics of the quality of the education. Now, I don't believe that everybody has the intellectual ability or the interest in going to college. Yet, how many new technical programs have you seen started in the last 20 years? Look at how much money a plumber makes, or an electrician, or an auto mechanic. Okay, you do not need a college education. Yet, if you were to talk about technical vocational education in the United States at the secondary level, people would think that you were crazy. They would say, how reactionary is this guy? He doesn't want to send people to college. Well, it's not that you don't want to send people to college. It's that you want these people to be productive in a way that takes advantage of their innate skills, and not everybody has the same innate skills. And statistically, I'm sad to say that exactly half of the people in your class, whether it's PS 106 in Brooklyn, where I went, or MIT, exactly half of those kids are going to be in the bottom of their class. There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So let's recognize the fact, and it's the same thing with when you're choosing a basketball team. If you're choosing if you're trying to get a championship varsity basketball team, you're going to pick the 5 best players. You're not picking people to join that team because they're nice guys or you want to make them feel good. You want to pick them because they know how to play. They're the best basketball players you got, and they're the guys that the coach works with. I mean,
when we come back, obviously the affairs in Egypt are just out of control. They're planning to suspend the Constitution, appoint the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court to manage the affairs of the state. We can only imagine. We're going to talk much more about that when I return with Logan Delaney. Don't go away.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672 3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Can you just imagine what the Egyptian people are facing after they faced this over a year ago? Logan?
Armstrong, it is absolutely amazing to me what they're going through and having to go through it again so soon, 1 year later. For a bunch of reasons, a lot of Egyptians have got to be disappointed in the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring looks like it's more like the Arab Winter. That's WINTER, not NNER.
We're fortunate to have Dr. Tawfik Hamid join us. We've been waiting on him since the start of the show. Dr. Hamid, thank you for joining us and talk to us about the situation in Egypt and just how devastating it is for the people to go through this again. And was it necessary for the military to just bring about this coup and just to oust Dr. Morsi? And welcome to the show.
Yeah. Actually, the situation in Egypt simply was that after the initial revolution, the President Morsi really didn't use the opportunity to establish the values of democracy. He betrayed the values of democracy seriously, and he allowed many of the Islamist thugs to actually attack and even kill many of the young revolutionists who were demonstrating peacefully around his palace. He also betrayed the opposition after promising them if they elected him and he's in power, he will bring them to high level in the government to share the power with him. And he didn't do this. Additionally, the Islamic agenda contributed to economic collapse of the country because they didn't encourage tourism industry because they see alcohol and the swimming togs of women or bikinis as un-Islamic. And this contributed to the collapse of the economy. And all these factors together worked in a way that awakened the conscience and the mind of many Egyptian people. In fact, we are talking here about tens of millions. And I'll tell you personally, I have not seen a single Egyptian from my friends who was supporter of Morsi initially, but turning now against him after what he did. So I see the military intervention, I don't see it as a typical coup at all, because it is a coup, but it is a legitimate coup. Yeah. It's a form of a legitimate coup that's based on the will and the desire of the majority of the population. And you can see the demonstrations, tens of millions. Again, hello?
Oh, we're listening.
Yes. Tens of millions are against Morsi compared to only tens of thousands are with him. So the military intervention was actually an action on behalf of the people to set the direction of the revolution correctly. Because Islamists, once they came to power, they started to show a feature that they used to hide before coming to power. And now they are exposed, and I see this, believe me, as the first anti-Islamist revolution in history, and I think this can be a big blow to political and then radical Islam globally. The defeat of the Muslim Brotherhood in their motherland, Egypt, is groups all over the world.
Logan, your question?
Can you tell us why, in your judgment, President Barack Obama, who was so anxious to see the overthrow of President Mubarak, who was a friend of the United States, why he was just as anxious to send the word to the Egyptian military not to oust Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood?
This is one of the most important questions, and in fact, many Egyptians are asking the same question. And it reached the level that they put in Tahrir Square of the revolution. Initially, they liked President Obama very much and his statement. They liked his support to the initial revolution against Mubarak. But when they realized that he is not having the same standards, or he's using double standards in dealing with the problem, they turned against him, and you see a big banner, for example, in Tahrir Square calling Obama as a terrorist because they see him as supporter of an Islamist agenda. They see President Obama as supporter of the jihadists in Syria and trying also to support the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt instead of having the same standard that he used with Mubarak. I mean, criticizing the Muslim Brotherhood for the anti-democratic steps that they have done after they came to power. We didn't hear strong statements from the administration against the Brotherhood, and this made many Egyptians really fear there is a strange affiliation and affinity between, maybe the president is misinformed. There could be several reasons, but obviously there is something fundamentally strange here when you see the Islamic government betraying the values of democracy. You see Morsi controlling all powers in his hand. You see him taking very aggressive steps against his opposition, and we really didn't see the same powerful stand against him as we have seen against Mubarak. So this is one of the questions that it may need some time really to evaluate the situation.
Logan?
One of the things that most Americans don't really appreciate or understand is the role of the Egyptian military and the central command, military command in Egypt, and how does that confer legitimacy on removing a, quote, democratically elected president? Can you comment and let us know your view on that?
Do you mean how the military, what right do they have to intervene in the process?
Yeah, what right do they have to intervene?
Simply, the right is the will of the people. There was recent survey that showed clearly that 84% of the Egyptians want the military to get involved, because this is not a sectarian military. It's population-based, and since the Egyptians were young, they have some affinity or relation with the military, and they consider it the backbone of the country, the savior of the country, because it's an organized body, and it could be the only organized body in the country, to be honest with you. So the people usually turn to them because they are organized, accurate, and strong, and they can protect the civilians. So for the population, the military is theirs and expressing their will. And that's why the military intervention is not, they feel the right is coming for them because people want them to intervene. It is the will of the people themselves.
Whom do you think will be the next president of Egypt?
I think maybe Al-Baradei, or who is the Nobel Prize winner, former president, or Ahmed Shafiq. But likely maybe Al-Baradei.
How important
what news?
Will the alliance be with the United States? Because Morsi certainly is not the ally that the Obama administration thought that he would be. And how will this president work with the other sovereign nations in the Middle East?
You mean President Morsi to work with other nations, or he is not in power anymore?
How will the new leadership work with the United States in a different way than Morsi did? In other words,
the next president.
Yeah, the next president. How important is the relationship with the United States?
I'll tell you, the next president may not be much different in dealing with the United States in the basic issues such as the Suez Canal or the peace treaty with Israel, because the military also, again, is the guarantor for the peace treaty and for also the security of the Suez Canal. So I don't think it will make much difference in the relationship, but there is one significant difference. He will be genuine in the relationship with the United States. Morsi can give you lip service to say he's okay with the peace treaty, he has no problem with the West, but when you read the literature of the Muslim Brotherhood and what they put on their website, you can clearly see in the Arabic language, when you read it in Arabic, that they have very strong anti-American, anti-Israel agenda, and what they are saying to the West is just a lip service. As remember when they said they will respect the peace treaty, he has no problem with Israel, and then they discovered what Morsi said about the Jews, they are sons of pigs and monkeys, and he asked the Muslims to nurse their kids' hatred to the Jews. So you see that level of anti-Semitism. Do you expect he will be genuine in the relationship, in relation to the peace treaty or any other thing with America? So America will get the same fruit or outcome, but the difference is the newly elected president is likely to be genuine in his relationship with America compared to the Morsi group, who will give lip service for another plan or strategy later on, which will be anti-American.
That is fascinating, Logan.
It is. Now, is there any kind of unity on the political front from the opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood? In other words, can the secularists, the Coptics, the young Egyptians who fomented part of this revolution, can they get together in a unified front and try to unify this nation and heal this nation?
Yeah, absolutely. After the experience they had with the possibility of Egypt becoming like Afghanistan or Somalia under the Islamist regime, they learned the lesson, and I would expect that they will avoid the mistakes that they did in the past, and hopefully they can unite in bringing the country to the path of modernity. I hope so.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. Logan, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
My pleasure.
And we'll keep Egypt in our prayers.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his